से मीटिंग पहले तो एक इंटरनल मीटिंग होगी, बाहर लोग बाहर से ज्वाइन और कहना है क्या
अच्छी बात
एक अच्छी बात है कि the place where I am,
sir,
it is right in the heart of the city.
Sir,
about 5 minutes walk to anything.
Absolutely correct, sir.
To
Absolutely.
Express Hotel.
Absolutely correct.
And we overlook a park.
Sir.
There is a Shmashan that we use. So
he keeps reminding you.
Exactly.
ये बॉस यहीं जाना है.
यहीं जाना है और कहीं नहीं.
ये तो बहुत अच्छी बात कही आपने सर. ये मेरा फेवरेट सब्जेक्ट है सर. ये तो अगर मुझे याद कराता रहे कि मुझे यहाँ जाना है, तो एक तो काम में
थोड़ा सा फुर्ती आ जाए, थोड़ी सी ह्यूमिलिटी है.
अरे बहुत सर, बहुत ज़्यादा. सर मैंने 3 जगह ऐसा पाया, 3 जगह जहाँ तो मुझे लगता है कि जब व्यक्ति में थोड़ा अभिमान आ जाए, जरूर आगे जाना चाहिए. एक रेलवे स्टेशन के प्लेटफॉर्म पे,
बिल्कुल.
दूसरा सिविल हॉस्पिटल के अंदर, जनरल वार्ड के अंदर, तीसरा स्मशान के अंदर. 3 जगह पहुँच जाए ना सर हम लोग, तो मालूम पड़ता है कि बस वो है क्या है.
और 2-3 जगह
और
एक तो डॉक्टर और वकील के ऑफिस में.
हाँ जरूर.
नो मैटर हाउ बिग यू आर,
करेक्ट,
उधर तो सभी बराबर. और दूसरी जगह बार्बर के सामने आपको सर झुकाना
पड़ता है. बहुत अच्छा कहा सर.
वो कहता है वो हमेशा सर झुकाना पड़ता है.
बहुत सही कहा. थोड़ा हिस्ट्री निकालना पर ये गलत हो सकता है सर शायद.
नहीं ठीक.
मैं चाहता हूँ कि इसके अंदर थोड़ा सा इम्प्रूवमेंट करेंगे. तो मैं आपको इसलिए मैं सर खास बुलाया, रिक्वेस्ट भी किया कि सर हम लोग यहाँ पर एक वर्गीज कुरियन का हमारा एक सेंटर ऑफ एक्सेलेंस चल रहा है. तो उसमें वी आर ट्राइंग टू डॉक्यूमेंट एवरीथिंग अबाउट वर्गीज कुरियन सर. So now with a person like you sir, we would like to capture as much as we can. So on video, on audio as much as we can. Be much better than this. ये हमारे.
नहीं मैं तो दूसरा भी सोच रहा था
सर
कि अगर आपको ठीक लगे
सर
तो sometime we can organize a seminar, faculty seminar.
Very nice.
And I could talk about the formative phase.
आज ही है ना सर, तो आज ही चल.
आज ही चल.
आज ही 12 बजे वही है सर.
अच्छा, थैंक यू.
12 बजे we have called a lot of people for that seminar.
ओके.
Formative phase का एक बहुत इंटरेस्ट है तो
वो सब it is more, it's partly anecdotal.
Absolutely.
And partly analytical also.
Very nice.
Because you know, telling stories is one thing. Drawing a lesson from it is more important. Because without that it is heard and forgotten.
I completely agree, sir. Completely
So
agree.
that is not my intention.
And I must introduce you first to the audience because they would like to know. On my left is Dr. Shreekant Sambrani, and this gentleman was introduced to me by a person from GCMMF very recently, Manoranjan Pani, a very good friend of ours. And he said, Sambrani sahab has come to us and we must contact him. And he immediately gave us a lead. This was about, I think, 1.5 or 2 weeks back.
About 10 days.
10 days back आप गए थे वहाँ पर. तो तुरंत ही मुझे फर्स्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली, मैंने कहा सर आप यहाँ आइए. सो समरानी साहब मेरे पास जो लिखा हुआ है सर यहाँ पर हम लोग I'm the 17th person to be sitting in this office, and he was the first person apparently who was here as member secretary from August 1979 until August 1980. And the whole purpose of having him here today is to put on record, place on record, all his memories about how IRMA started, the formative years of IRMA, what all went through here, the processes that we went through here. And I think no better person than him can throw light on this. Now after a brief meeting here, we will be going to our seminar hall at the ETDC and Executive Training Development Center. And there we'll be talking to larger faculty who will be asking a lot of questions, and then they'll be telling us. And I hope more people like Tushar Bhai and Katar Singh sir will be probably here, and they'll probably also meet him. It will be a pleasure to meet him that time also. So sir, आप जो आप जैसे चालू करना चाहें कहीं से.
वो तो फिर एक साथ ही करेंगे.
पर अब थोड़ा सा
नहीं उसका मजा नहीं आएगा.
नहीं आएगा मजा. ओके.
एक साथ में करेंगे तो एक
और अच्छा लगेगा. पर मैं आपको पूछ सकता हूँ कुछ प्रश्न तो आपसे
जरूर.
सर आपका एसोसिएशन कैसे हुआ IRMA के साथ में, डॉक्टर कुरियन के साथ में, और वो कैसे शुरू हुआ?
वो तो बहुत पुरानी बात है.
बताएं सर.
डॉक्टर कुरियन वाज ऑन IIM बोर्ड.
जी.
सो सबसे पहले तो मैं उनसे वहाँ मिला था.
अच्छा.
There was a tradition
हाँ.
that after the board meeting,
जी sir,
the faculty was invited to lunch with the board.
जी.
Ravi Mathai had set up that tradition.
Correct.
And if I remember right, Dr. Kurien joined the IRMA board, IIMA board in 1974.
Okay.
I joined IIMA in 1971.
जी.
And I was a part of the Center for Management in Agriculture.
Correct, sir.
Not because I had any claims to fame and any knowledge of agriculture, but simply because of my interest. In fact, I had never been to a village except for a visit or a picnic, and I knew very little about agriculture altogether.
Correct, sir.
So that's also an interesting story. When I met Ravi Mathai in New York in the spring of 1971, he had come on a recruitment drive. And because there was somebody from Cornell where I was finishing my PhD,
correct,
and he had recommended my name, so Ravi invited me to meet him in New York. So we had a good chat, about half an hour or so. And Ravi said, well, I can offer you a job in 3 possible areas.
Wow.
Because you have engineering background, therefore you can fit into, there used to be what was called the production and quantitative methods.
Yes, yes.
So you could fit in there. Or because you're doing a PhD in economics, you could fit in the economics area. Or because you are talking so much about agriculture, because I was just extrapolating from my thesis, which was all very on the top of my mind. So you could join our Center for Management in Agriculture. So I said, Ravi, if you want to take a chance on me, I would love to join the Center for Management in Agriculture. I must tell you that I know nothing about it. But if you will allow me, I will learn on the job.
So nice.
And therefore, he agreed, and that's how I ended up in agriculture. And to be very honest, as I said before, I never really knew much about on-the-ground situation of agriculture. But since then, that was 71. Today we are talking about 2018. 47 years. I have worked largely in the area of agriculture.
Amazing.
And all I would say is that my ignorance still continues. It's only marginally less than what it was earlier. Because it is such a vast subject, nobody can ever claim to know very much about it.
That's humility.
So, no, it is the truth. It is not humility,
except
the
that
truth.
Is humility.
It is the truth. So, my wife used to make a joke. I traveled extensively all over India, traveled within the country, to the remotest part of the country. I can claim that I have visited all 29 states of India at one time or the other. May not be for long, but I have visited all of them, including the northeast, all the way into Arunachal Pradesh and so on. And my wife used to joke in the early days that Shreekant is out there somewhere in Madhya Pradesh in the rice bowl. At that time there was no Chhattisgarh.
Correct.
So I used to go to Raipur and other places nearby, Chaibasa and not quite Jumri Talaya, but Chaibasa was a place which was always on the Vivid Bharati Farmaish list.
Yes, even Jumri Talaya was.
Jumri Talaya was, but I am talking of Chaibasa, which is near Raipur.
Correct, sir.
I have been there.
Correct.
So she used to say that he's gone there to count rice grains.
Oh God.
So I counted rice grains there.
Oh my God.
I counted soybeans in western Madhya Pradesh.
Wow.
I counted wheat in Punjab.
Wow.
I measured milk in Loon Karansar in Bikaner.
Wow.
And I have graded vegetables in
my goodness, that's
in Indore and in Narayangaon, everywhere. I have seen processing facilities. I have been it is simply that I have not, whatever I have learned through exposure, not necessarily textbooks. So therefore my views are often at divergence with what people say.
Makes sense.
And given my nature, I aggressively push my views. Not perhaps rightly, but I do that anyway.
Whatever you feel.
Yes, and I don't put my punches.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That is what I am. And before you ask me to get into your Center for Excellence, Kurien Center for Excellence, I must warn you about one thing, and which I told both Pani as well as Sodi, that my nature is such that if a ball is thrown to me, I will run with the ball.
Makes sense.
And no, but it often annoys people. That it is, your role is very limited. It is our ball that we are throwing to you, and you have to run only a specific distance. I try to control myself, But now I find that I'm too old to learn these new tricks. And I end up at times annoying people.
I understand.
So I should explain this beforehand so that we don't come to grief at a later
Not at all, not at all.
And
this is only a part of what we are doing for the Center of Excellence.
No, so what I'm saying is that if you ask me,
Yeah.
I will push my ideas
Yes.
until you say stop.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Makes sense. I have a colleague of mine who's heading the center, Professor Harikrishna Mishra.
Yes, you do.
Today he is in Delhi for a very important meeting with the ministry, and that's why he's not here with me.
Okay.
But I'll be briefing him all about this, and he'll come and meet you in Baroda.
Okay.
Because he's doing a lot of work towards, first of all, trying to make something out here at IRMA, which will remind everybody who comes down here about Dr. Kurien and the work that he's done. It'll be common fiction.
I think that is redundant. I think you come to Anand and it is
Lately, sir,
mostly Dr. Kurien.
Yeah, lately we find that these narratives are being forgotten in the minds of people.
That's true. That is why.
So we want to keep reminding
No,
you.
no. That is why I should tell you the reason why I went to Amula and
Federation.
meetings, not refreshing. I have
Federation.
proposed to the Federation. Yes, I have proposed to them
Gee.
to write a narrative,
Right.
long narrative,
Absolutely correct.
which will capture the cooperative dairy sector
Very good.
from its very inception till today. And there are various reasons. As you very rightly pointed out, the narrative is fading now from people's mind.
Absolutely, sir.
And it cannot be allowed to fade
Absolutely correct.
because it is something very phenomenal and unique.
Sacrosanct for us.
Apart from that,
Yes.
second thing is that if you look at objectively, in 70 years, India has progressed quite a lot. Still, one sector still remains very much, how shall I say, poverty stricken. Poverty is not the right word. Distress prone.
Distress prone. Yes, that's right.
And that is agriculture.
Yeah.
And so therefore there is, before we become complacent that we are doing well and so on and so forth, which the government keeps on reminding us, all the governments keep on reminding us.
True.
But before we get complacent, we have to realize that 50% of the people are still dependent on a sector that produces only 14% of the GDP.
Agreed.
So the distance between India and Bharat is wide, and it is widening.
It's right. It's right.
So therefore, this is something that needs to be tackled.
Absolutely correct, sir.
That is one. We have done very many things. We've been there, done that, and so on and so forth. You name a remedy and we have done it. Not much at all. Okay. So, but one thing that has been an unqualified success is cooperative dairy. Not just in Gujarat, but elsewhere as well. In fact, what has happened is that this is one area where private sector has been compelled by necessity of survival and profitability to follow the approach that cooperatives
I'm following too. Very true.
whether you talk about Nestle's in Punjab
Yeah.
or Glaxo in UP
Yes.
or the South Indian what's it called?
It's a French multinational
No,
company.
no. It is, now they have taken.
French multinational.
Yes. So, but it was a local enterprise,
Correct.
Tamil Nadu.
Correct.
So all of them follow
Follow
essentially the same pattern.
Same pattern.
That is because the reality is something that we need to.
Correct.
The reality is that we have atomistic production. Not just micro, but atomistic production. People with one or two animals, milk animals, which are not in milk all through the year. They produce milk. All of that has to be collected. Yet the structure of the economy is such that you must reap the benefits of economies of scale and modern technology.
Very true.
So cooperative dairying has shown the way where it can be done.
Amazing.
And that is the reason why that model has been adopted even by private industry.
For their survival.
For their very existence.
Absolutely.
Otherwise they cannot exist.
They can't exist.
You know, long time ago when I was being interviewed for a position at University of California, just before I had completed. In fact, I had that offer when I got the IIM offer and I turned it down. And I was again talking about this small scale production and so on. And one very insensitive person said that, are there no large farms in India or large holdings? I said, there are, but very few. Can foreigners own land? I said, I suppose they can. I didn't know at that time. So why don't American capitalists come in and own large farms and set up efficient agriculture? I told him at that time that you presume that large-scale farming is efficient.
Yes, true.
It is not so. What happens in dairying is very illustrative. That you use all the resources economically, crop residue for example, which has very little market value otherwise. You use that to feed the animal. And the waste from the animal, you use as compost, farming. So it makes a
very positive
virtuous cycle.
Yes.
And that is why the farmer is able to survive. Talked about, he was very acerbic. He said, what do you people know about agriculture? Or that is all book learning. And I was sufficiently bold. I said, no sir, we find out many different. Oh yes, of course you find out that the cow has two ends and one end is more important than the other.
Oh God.
But you don't know which end that is.
Oh my God. That was very rough of him.
Well, that's how it began. And shortly thereafter, there was an assignment from NDDB, on which I was seconded by the director.
But he took up that assignment of IIM.
Yeah.
CMA.
So he offered. He talked rough, but he didn't mean.
Yeah, very nice. And we had a lunch with Dr. Kurien after the board meeting.
After the board, all the faculty were there, and I was introduced to him.
Correct.
So then I did that little assignment, not very large.
Correct.
And we had to present make a small presentation to Dr. Kurien.
Correct.
That was sometime in 75.
Correct.
And I did that. And he had forgotten. So I reminded him. And I said, now I hope you know that we know which end is more important.
Oh God.
So he didn't say anything. He just glowered at me. And then I forgot all about it.
You mean Dr. Kurien asked you this about the which end?
Yeah.
Or Dr.
Kurien.
Dr. Kurien asked you this. Oh my God.
He had great,
oh my God.
I should say, not contempt, but he didn't think that I knew very much.
Okay.
So he was quite happy with the small assignment that we had done. And that was my moment to remind him.
I understand.
So then after that, I left IIM in 78, toward the end of 78, October. And I went to the Economic Times. I was the first chief of research bureau of the Economic Times. And we were doing a story on Operation Flood. So I asked Dr. Kurien, I sent a letter to him, no email in those days, seeking an appointment with him to discuss certain matters. So he said, please come for lunch. And at Bombay.
Bombay.
The Federation had an office at Kalagoda.
Yes.
And still there.
Yes.
Rampart House.
Yeah.
And on the top floor was what he used to call his pad, his penthouse.
Penthouse there.
That is where I was asked for lunch. And very nice lunch.
Okay.
And it lasted for about 3 hours.
Oh my God.
And I don't know if you ever had a personal interaction or interaction over lunch.
No, not that long, no, never.
So in any such thing, 90% of the time, if not 95, Dr. Kurien spoke. And you just said yes, no, whatever, and interrupted very rarely. So I had my notes. Even then I didn't depend too much on my notes. I thought his computer was strong enough to record various things. So after that I started taking my leave. So he said, wait a minute. I have made various efforts at getting a management training institute.
Right.
I got fed up.
Yeah.
So I have now decided to start a school of my own. So will you come and help me?
No.
So I said, sir, I have only just started this job. It was only about 6 months that I was with the Economic Times. And so I don't think it would be fair on my part, or even proper on my part to consider leaving this. So he said, think about it. 2 days later, I received a large envelope which has articles of association and the memorandum of association of IRMA and standard things, nothing great about it. And there's a annexure to it which says proposed board of governors, and my name was in it. So I talked to him, which was very difficult in those days, to trunk calls and so on. And Anand didn't have, Anand only had a manual exchange.
Correct.
So I talked to him and I said, sir, I have to, first of all, I have to seek my employer's permission. So he said, no, this is in, and I said, I have not yet made up my mind. I think I probably will not consider. So he said, no, this is in your personal capacity. Whether or not you come here, I want you on the board.
Oh, very nice.
So I said, but I have to seek my employer's
And you were
permission.
seated in Ahmedabad that time? Or?
No, I was in Bombay.
Bombay.
Economic Times, I was the chief of research bureau.
Not Ahmedabad.
No.
In Bombay.
I had left IIMA 6 months.
You mentioned that.
So he said, well, that is up to you. You decide how you manage to go about it. Well, okay, I let it pass. And I didn't have the courage to go to Dr. Ramchandra, who was the general manager of Bennett Coleman. In those days, there was no managing director. And Ram Tarneja was a Cornell PhD, so we had a special relationship.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll go when I want. And another week later, I get a call from the local Amul office. They say that you and Mrs. Sambrani have been invited to Anand, and I am bringing you your train tickets. So that was, in those days, flights were not
very rare.
And Gujarat Mail was very convenient.
Very convenient.
So he brought me to first AC tickets and so on and so forth. He said, this is what it is. Tell me where you have to be picked up, so I will take you to the station. So I said, chalo, chutti hai, 2 din jaake aate hain, weekend pe. So I told my wife, she said, but why are we going to Anand? I don't want to go back to Gujarat so quickly. I said, all right, chalo, chutti na. So we went to Anand, and we were at that DX guest house in the NDDB campus.
Correct.
There was as usual, there always was a guest program, which was kept in my folder.
Yes.
And visits here, there, discussions with Dr. Kurien, etc., etc. Well, very.
Wow.
So we went for a visit here, there, and so on. Then somebody came and said, sir, you are required to take a physical examination. So I said, why? No, this is Dr. Kurien's order. We just did.
Oh my God.
So I went for the physical examination. And we went through. That is when I discovered that I had an incipient BP problem. First time. So I must thank them for that. And later, Dr. Kamla Chaudhary joined the discussion.
Okay.
And we didn't talk much about it, we talked only about it. And we talked about it throughout the day, next day, and so on and so forth. So then came back and he said, so when are you coming here? So I said, sir, I still have to decide, I still have to talk to my wife. Well, you can take care of all those formalities. You just tell me the date. So I said, let me at least go back to Bombay.
Wow.
And that's how.
Very decisive.
That's how it was. It happened.
Very decisive.
So.
And he mentioned to you the role that you were going to play?
Yeah, he said that. But he said that I don't have any details of this.
Correct. Dr.
Kamla Chaudhary is advising us, but she only talks. He told her to, he said that to her face.
She was advisor.
She was the Ford Foundation advisor. Ford Foundation was supporting this.
Amazing.
At that time.
Amazing.
So, well, anyway, I came to Anand end of June. So,
78.
78. And, settled down. They had given us a house.
NDDB.
Everything was all right. So we came and, in fact, we had not unpacked in Bombay because our flat that was to be given was not yet ready. So we were staying at the Times of India guest house.
Correct.
And our stuff was packed in a garage.
Blessing in disguise.
So that came
out.
And we came and we settled in. And the very first day I went to call on Dr. Anecha, who was the secretary at that time.
Yes.
And then I went to call on Dr. Kurien.
Yes.
So little later in the day, I get a slim file with maybe 2 or 3 papers in it. That is all the material we have. And then I get a visit from Mr. Sood, VC Sood,
Yes.
who was the senior project executive and had a reputation for being difficult and argumentative. So they parked him. And then little later in the evening, I get Arvind Swaminathan, who had even a worse reputation. He was in NDDB because his father, T. Swaminathan,
Yes.
was the among earliest election commissioners and a good friend of Dr. Kurien's. And Arvind was always a sort of slightly oddball. And so he had difficulty fitting in the job, and Dr. Kurien gave him a job. So they were given to me.
Yes.
So that is your team. Now you do what you have to
So, coffee please.
do. No. So that's how it started.
So, what's your engineering background? You done engineering?
Yeah, from IIT Bombay
Mumbai.
and chemical engineering.
That is very, very reputed.
Yes.
When I tell you my own dreams, sir, when I got admission to IITs, my school wasn't good enough. But my dream was to do chemical engineering at IIT Bombay. Ultimately, I ended up in Delhi.
Professor Kamath was the
Amazing.
leading light of chemical engineering.
So the first 50 people of joint entrance examination, 30 of them would go to chemical engineering of IIT Bombay. That is the reputation of that department.
But we had no entrance exam.
You didn't have
The first 5-year batch
which
in
was
1960.
1960.
60.
So it's IIT Bombay started after IIT Kanpur?
No, just slightly before.
Before IIT Kanpur. So it was the first one.
Same one, same time actually.
Almost same time. But they were the first ones.
Yeah.
IIT Bombay.
IIT Kharagpur was the first.
First one IIT Kanpur.
That was in 56. No, 52.
Oh, how many years?
And IIT Bombay started in 57.
Oh my God.
It started at a place called Silk and Art Silk Mills.
Sasmira. Sasmira, yes.
That is where IIT Bombay was.
Okay.
And the land
Sasmira was in Worli area.
Yes.
Worli.
Yes.
Yeah,
The land was given at Powai.
Powai, right?
And it was still being built while we were the first batch to, no, they were earlier, one batch came. That was a 4-year batch. And we were the first 5-year batch.
5-year batch.
Because it had just been extended to 5 years.
So you came out in 65.
65.
And then you went to
The US.
Cornell.
Yes. No, I went first to Northwestern.
Northwestern.
I did a master's in chemical engineering.
Amazing.
And then I switched to economics.
Cornell.
Yes.
Amazing.
So I was always interested in economics. And that's another story. That's a very long story.
So you never practiced chemical engineering?
Well, not quite. I was offered various jobs. This has nothing to do with IRMA or anything.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's about you.
Yeah, it's about me.
We want to know you, sir.
Yeah, so immediately after graduation, I applied for jobs, this, that, and the other. One of the jobs was with what was then Stanback, SO now.
Yes.
SO and then Hindustan Petroleum.
Correct.
So they said, okay, the job required 5 years experience, sales engineer. And it said 900 rupees, which was unheard of. Because 400 to 500 was the first job that was being offered. I was offered a job in Asian Paints, I took it at 500 rupees.
My God.
So I was the first professional chemical engineer to be recruited by Asian Paints.
Campus placements?
No.
Outside.
Outside. There were no campus.
No campus placements
at that time. So I was Mr. Dani himself.
Dani himself.
So I was offered a job.
My goodness. Long time back.
Long time back. Then the day I joined the Asian Paints job, I got an interview call for this SO, which I didn't expect because it was a lark. I went there, several rounds of interviews and so on. final round, there were two finalists. One person who was 10 years my senior, and I. And so we had a panel of interviewers, three people, one American and two Indians. One of the Indians was a technical man, the other one was a silent administrative guy. They kept asking me questions. The Indian said that if I tell you that your client wants a pump for oil of such and such viscosity, what would you recommend? So I said, sir, I will look it up in my chemical engineering handbook and I will decide.
Correct.
What? You don't know this simple thing? So I said, sir, I have after all limited capacity. I can either remember all these details or I can remember where to find them. That way I learn more. So he was apoplectic, absolutely. But the American said, well done, my boy. That's exactly what I like.
Very nice.
So, and 2 days later, I got an appointment.
Yes, sir.
That same day, I got a letter of admission from Northwestern.
Oh boy.
Which said, we are admitting you and we are going to offer you a fellowship, but that letter will follow a couple of days.
So nice.
So I went to Mr. Dani and I said, I quit after 10 days.
Oh my God.
So
He must be shocked.
he was.
500 rupees, that time was a lot of money.
He said, look, we are yet finalizing how to train you and so on, and you are quitting. So I said, sir, this is what I have. Either I can go to ESO or I can go to the US.
Correct.
And a third interesting thing happened at the same time. I had a atomic energy fellowship in the last 2 years. So the government of India and Atomic Energy, Atomic Energy Commission, decided in their infinite wisdom that they were going to raise our fellowship amount from 75 rupees to 150 rupees per month, retroactive.
Wow.
And I was told that I could come to a tea with Dr. Baba and collect my arrears on that account. That means 75 rupees for 2 years.
Absolutely.
It was a princely sum. Huge sum.
Yes.
So I was rich and I said I have no need to work anymore.
Oh my God, 1800 rupees?
1800 rupees, but 6 months of 150 added to that,
Oh my God.
because we had only a truncated year, final year,
27.
because of the emergency. Our year finished in January. So that amount also came.
Which emergency was this?
Chinese.
61, 62 war.
And they decided that they were going to, they cancelled summer vacation and Diwali vacation. And we finished our exam in January instead of in June. So I had about 3,000 rupees with me. And I had 4 months to kill before I could go abroad. And I could travel, I could do what I wanted to. But SO kept my name. When I went to the US, they followed up. In the US, they offered me a summer job, which I didn't take. Then eventually I told them that I'm going back to India. And I said I'm going to do economics PhD. They said that is excellent. When you go back to India, tell us, we'll give you a job.
So nice.
So which I never ended up taking. But once in IIMA, I was tempted to do an industry apprenticeship. Ravi supported it. And I was planning to do it with HP. But then nothing. That all. I went to see them. They again were very ready. But IIM had more pressing things, and Ravi said I have to withdraw that permission. We need to do something else.
Understand.
Yes. So that's my brush with chemical engineering. But I have done a lot of work on oil industry. So the first brush in this was again with solvent extraction, and I ended up learning solvent extraction all over again.
Wow.
And became something of a small time authority on that.
Amazing.
So that is my chemical engineering. This is aside, but since you asked,
So
I'm chewing your ear off.
No, I'm so happy to hear this. You are senior to me at IIT by about 11 years. You must have joined me 16?
60.
I went in at 72, so 12 years senior to me. Amazing, sir.
So
And personal, we'll go for that interaction with the faculty members, larger interaction, where we will talk about the formative years for him.
Yes.
But at personal level, who all are there at home, sir?
My wife, that's all.
Wow, amazing. And both keeping good health, sir?
Touch wood.
Touch wood, by grace of God. By grace of God.
And we remember all the time where our destination is. And Baroda.
This I must share.
Baroda is something of a unique city.
Yes.
It has excellent health services. Absolutely first.
State of the art.
And Bailal Amin Hospital is wonderful.
Yes.
Every bit as good as Charotar, if not better.
Absolutely.
And we have something of a genius as our family physician.
Who is it?
Dr. Girish Vaishnav.
Wow.
And I don't know if you ever watched the American serial House.
No, I've not seen it.
It is wonderful. It is about a forensic surgeon who was tremendous. And that is a serial worth watching.
House. It is maybe on the Netflix or Amazon.
I don't know, but it is available in it ran for 8 seasons.
I'll check.
It is really House is a takeoff on Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, really?
So House, Holmes, etc. So House MD is the name of the serial, and it is wonderful. I think there are about 8 or 10 CD sets available.
I mean, I'll see.
Or it is on the net also, you can download. So he is, Dr. Vaishnav is tremendous in this regard.
He takes care of you.
Absolutely. 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, 3 years ago exactly almost, my wife had very severe urinary infection and knocked on the door practically. So she was in the ICU for 10 days. And for 6 of those days, Dr. Vaishnav never said one word as to what is going to happen. On the 7th day, he told me, now she will survive.
Oh my God.
So it is that kind of a thing.
I must tell the viewers one thing on your behalf. Before we started this, I think maybe it was not taped that time. But this gentleman, Dr. Sambrani, who is the member secretary, the first one at IRMA, to start the entire operation here, the process part, he said a very beautiful thing. He said that he has a home which is in Baroda, Alkapuri area. He lives on 3rd floor and has a bedroom on the 4th floor. And from his bedroom window, he can see the cremation
also
ground.
From my office.
Even from his office window. And he can see the cremation ground. And that keeps reminding him the ultimate destination that he has to reach. And that keeps him so grounded and so humble.
I hope.
And I'm sure you sound it, sir. And I added to that there are 2 more places that we should add to this list. And then he added 2 more. I said a railway station platform. And another one is a civil hospital. If we add this 2 also, it will really make a perfect... you really realize.
No, but I think you should remember the barber.
Barber also, where you go down.
Where you have to bow down.
In a subtle manner, yes. Yeah. Unless you're going to grow hair.
Even then, you have to bow down.
So I think with this we're going to move out. Now we'll be moving from here to the ATDC, where we have a larger number of people waiting for him to listen to his narrative on formative years of IRMA. And so thank you very much. I really
Some of it will be repeated.
I'm very happy to do that, sir, with you.
Okay.
So very, very happy.
Okay.
In fact, what we'll do is we'll go in a mode where some people can ask you can start off.
I can start off
And then
with
we
how
can-
I came here.
And then we can push.
I can start off by not telling about my personal self,
Right.
but how I got to know Dr. Kurien, how I came here,
Perfect.
and how IRMA began.
Perfect. And the process.
I will cut out all my personal.
And sir, we would like you to spend at least 15-20 minutes on Dr. Kurien.
Yes, of course.
Anecdotes with that
Of
person,
course,
because
of course.
this is
I am
so much
I
about
have
it.
so many things to tell you.
Yeah.
I have not mentioned here.
Yes, please.
I will
please,
tell
please.
you. I will.
One particular thing I would like to learn from you, and I may not remember asking you that, there is Dr. Kurien that you knew, sir, and you can answer that right away if you want to. Was he a person who was having fixed ideas which would never change, or would he change with changing times?
I will tell you one thing. He was a man of firm convictions, not fixed ideas. Firm convictions, and convictions based upon his experiences and his thinking. There is a difference between fixed ideas.
Correct, sir.
Trump is a man of fixed ideas, sometimes,
Correct.
with no knowledge, no experience.
Correct.
But he has fixed ideas.
Correct, sir.
Dr. Kurien was not. Therefore, I object to the word of fixed ideas.
Convictions.
Convictions, firm convictions.
Firm convictions.
Firm convictions. And if you talk to him, he would let you a full leeway about discussing.
Oh.
And when I will mention later,
During that, yeah.
that he could change his mind also.
With the changing times?
You had to have proper arguments.
Argument with it.
Factual arguments. Convincing arguments.
I personally experienced this with him. I was a placement coordinator one particular year, I think it was 2003, 2 and 3. And we wanted to have Dr. Nachiket Moore meet him. And I do remember vaguely that a lot of people around me was very scared to look at ICSI, how will this meeting ever take place? But then we just took a chance, and that meeting was a very good meeting. I was not part of that meeting at all, but then Dr. Nachiket Moore with his team must have come and met him. And after that, IRMA opened to ICSI initiatives, and a lot of things happened subsequently. So I was thinking that the person was changing times. I suppose.
You see, it is what I will say is that is to use the term that is very much in vogue, basic structure of the Constitution. His basic belief structure never changed.
It was same.
It remained the same till the very end. And what he added was because in areas that he was not, that were outside of his basic belief structure.
Makes sense.
Where he was ready to accept different things. IRMA and its culture is one living example of that.
Well said.
IRMA does not belong to the NDDB culture.
Well said, well said, well said, sir.
And for that, a little footnote would be for yours truly. And I will explain that.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate this. Thank you very, very much. Just to end it up on a different note, we have had so far, since 1978 in fact, 79 now, 79, along with Dr. Shreekant Sambrani, Dr. K.R.S. Murthy became the director, Dr. Kamla Chaudhary, honorary director, Dr. Anand Haldipur, the director, Mr. P.S. Appu, the director, Dr. R.P. Aneja, honorary director, Dr. Tushar Shah, director, Dr. Kadar Singh, director. He was also director in charge for some time and then became director. And then Dr. Pratap Reddy as the director, Dr. L.K. Vaswani, acting director here, Ms. Nilima Khaitan, director here, Dr. Vivek Bhandari, director here, followed by Dr. Rakesh Saxena, director in charge here, followed by Dr. Jimol Unni, director here, and Dr. R.C. Natarajan, director here, followed by Dr. Saxena, director in charge first and then acting director here. And finally, I have come to this office from December. And I'm honored, sir, that I'm meeting the first person who started the whole journey. And you're the last one. Not the culprit, sir, what do you call it? Torch bearer?
No,
torch bearer.
I don't know.
Yeah, and amongst the chairmen, we've had the most illustrious ones, Dr. Verghese Kurien from 14 December 79 to 8 of June 2006, and Dr. Y.K. Alag from November 2006 to November 2012, and Mr. Deep Joshi from November 2012 to November 15, and then we have Mr. Nand Kumar, November 15 to April 17, and then Dr. Tushar Shah as an interim chairman for some time between April 17 to July 17, and then Shri Dilip Rajji from July 2018 onwards. Now this is what we have here, sir.
The 14th December date is important because that is the day we received the certificate from the Charities Commissioner.
Wow.
About the IRMA Society being recognized.
That's a birthday.
Certificate of inception.
That's a birthday.
That is the birthday. That is the formal birthday.
Formal birthday of the organization.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
IRMA Society.
Thank you so
not
much.
IRMA.
IRMA Society.
Until then, IRMA was a kind of an adjunct in NDDB. Our paid salary came from NDDB and it got debited to various different things. And I and my colleagues were strictly speaking on the NDDB
payroll. Understandable, sir. We'll move there now. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. No, you, sir.
Yeah, so, immediately after graduation, I applied for jobs, this, that, and the other. One of the jobs was with what was then Stanback. ESO now.
Yes.
ESO and then Hindustan Petroleum.
Correct.
So they said, okay, the job required 5 years experience, sales engineer. And it said 900 rupees, which was unheard of. Because 400 to 500 was the first job that was being offered. I was offered a job in Asian Paints, I took it at 500 rupees.
My God.
So I was the first professional chemical engineer to be recruited by Asian Paints.
Campus placements?
No.
Outside.
There were no campus
placements
at that time. So I was Mr. Dani himself.
Dani himself.
So I was offered a job.
My goodness, long time back.
Long time back. Then the day I joined the Asian Paints job, I got an interview call for this ESOP, which I didn't expect because it was a lark. I went there, several rounds of interviews and so on. Final round, there were 2 finalists. One person who was 10 years my senior, and I. And so we had a panel of interviews. We were 3 people, 1 American and 2 Indians. One of the Indians was a technical man, the other one was a silent administrative guy. They kept asking me questions. The Indian said that if I tell you that your client wants a pump for oil of such and such viscosity, what would you recommend? So I said, sir, I will look it up in my chemical engineer's handbook and I will decide.
Correct.
What? You don't know this simple thing? So I said, sir, I have after all limited capacity to remember. I can either remember all these details or I can remember where to find them.
Absolutely.
That way I learn more. So he was apoplectic, absolutely. But the American said, well done, my boy. That's exactly what I like.
Very nice.
So, and 2 days later, I got an appointment.
Yes, sir.
That same day, I got a letter of admission from Northwestern.
Oh boy.
Which said, we are admitting you and we are going to offer you a fellowship, but that letter will follow a couple of days.
So nice.
So I went to Mr. Dani and I said, I quit after 10 days.
Oh my God.
So
He must be shocked.
he was.
500 rupees, that time
He said, look, we are yet finalizing how to train you and so on, and you are quitting. So I said, sir, this is what I have. Either I can go to ESO or I can go to the US.
Correct.
And a third interesting thing happened at the same time. I had a atomic energy fellowship in the last 2 years. So the government of India and Atomic Energy Atomic Energy Commission decided in their infinite wisdom that they were going to raise our fellowship amount from 75 rupees to 150 rupees per month, retroactive.
Wow.
And I was told that I could come to a tea with Dr. Baba and collect my arrears on that account. That means 75 rupees for 2 years.
Absolutely.
It was a princely sum. Huge sum.
Yes.
So I was rich, and I said I have no need to work anymore.
Oh my God, 1800 rupees?
1800 rupees, but 6 months of 150 added to that,
Oh my God.
because we had only a truncated year, final year,
27.
because of the emergency. Our year finished in January. So that amount also came.
Which emergency was this?
Chinese.
61, 62 war.
And they decided that they were going to, they cancelled summer vacation and Diwali vacation, and we finished our exam in January instead of in June. So I had about 3,000 rupees with me, and I had 4 months to kill before I could go abroad. And I could travel, I could do what I wanted to. But ESO kept my name. When I went to the US, they followed up. In the US, they offered me a summer job, which I didn't take. Then eventually I told them that I'm going back to India. And I said, I'm going to do economics PhD. They said, that is excellent. When you go back to India, tell us, we'll give you a job.
So nice.
So, which I never ended up taking. But once in IIMA, I was tempted to do an industry apprenticeship. Ravi supported it. And I was planning to do it with HP. But then nothing, that all, I went to see them, they again were very ready, but I had more pressing things, and Ravi said I have to withdraw that permission. We need to do something else.
Understand.
Yes. So that's my brush with chemical engineering. But I have done a lot of work on oil industry. So the first brush in this was again with solvent extraction, and I ended up learning solvent extraction all over again.
Wow.
And became something of a small time authority on that.
Amazing.
So that is my chemical engineering.
Too good.
This is aside, but since you asked,
So
I'm chewing your ear off.
No, I'm so happy to hear this. You're senior to me at IIT by about 11 years. You must have joined me 16?
60.
I went in at 72, so 12 years senior to me. Amazing, sir.
So,
And personal, we'll go for that interaction with the faculty members, larger interaction, where we will talk about the formative years for him.
Yes.
But at personal level, who all are there at home, sir?
My wife, that's all.
Wow, amazing. And both keeping good health, sir.
Touch wood.
Touch wood, by grace of God. By grace of God.
And we remember all the time where our destination is. And Baroda.
This I must share.
Baroda is something of a unique city.
Yes.
It has excellent health services, absolutely first.
State of the art.
And Bailal Amin Hospital
Yes.
is wonderful.
Yes.
Every bit as good as Chavotar, if not better.
Absolutely.
And we have something of a genius as our family physician.
Who is it?
Dr. Girish Vaishnav.
Wow.
And I don't know if you ever watched the American serial House.
No, I've not seen.
It is wonderful. It is about a forensic surgeon who was tremendous. And that is a serial worth watching.
House. It is maybe on the Netflix or Amazon.
I don't know, but it is available in it ran for 8 seasons.
I'll check.
It is really a House is a takeoff on Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, really?
So House, Holmes, etc. So House MD is the name of the serial, and it is wonderful. I think there are about 8 or 10 CD sets available.
I'll see.
Or it is on the net also, you can download. So he is, Dr. Vaishnav is tremendous in this regard.
He takes care of you.
Absolutely. 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, 3 years ago exactly almost, my wife had very severe urinary infection and knocked on the door practically. So she was in the ICU for 10 days. And for 6 of those days, Dr. Vaishnav never said one word as to what is going to happen. On the 7th day, he told me, now she is.
Oh my God.
So it is that kind of thing.
I must tell the viewers one thing on your behalf. Before we started this, I think maybe it was not taped that time. But this gentleman, Dr. Sambrani, who is the member secretary, the first one at IRMA, to start the entire operation here, the process part, he said a very beautiful thing. He said that he has a home which is in Baroda, Alkapuri area. He lives on 3rd floor and has a bedroom on the 4th floor. And from his bedroom window, he can see the cremation
Also
ground.
from my office.
Even from his office window now. And he can see the cremation ground. And that keeps reminding him the ultimate destination that he has to reach. And that keeps him so grounded and so humble.
I hope.
And I'm sure you sound it, sir. And I added to that there are 2 more places that we should add to this list. And then he added 2 more. I said a railway station platform. And another one is a civil hospital. If we add this 2 also, it will really make a perfect... you really realize.
No, but I think you should remember the barber.
Barber also, where you go down.
Where you have to bow
In
down.
a subtle manner, yes. Yeah.
Sure.
Unless you're going to grow hair.
Even then, you have to bow down.
So I think with this we're going to move out. Now we'll be moving from here to the ATDC, where we have a larger number of people waiting for him to listen to his narrative on formative years of IRMA. And sir, thank you very much. I really
Some of
appreciate
it will be repeated.
I'm very happy to do that, sir, with you.
Okay.
So very, very happy.
Okay.
In fact, what we'll do is we'll go in a mode where some people can ask you can start off.
I can start off
And then we
how
can
I
ask-
came here.
And then you can push.
I can start off by not telling about my personal self, but how I got to know Dr. Kurien, how I came here,
Perfect.
and how IRMA began.
Perfect. And the process.
I will cut out all my personal.
And sir, we would like you to spend at least 15-20 minutes on Dr. Kurien.
Yes, of course.
Anecdotes with that
Of
person,
course,
because
of course.
there's
I have
so much
I
about
have
him.
so many things to tell you.
Yeah.
I have not mentioned here.
Yes, please.
I will
please,
tell
please.
you. I will.
One particular thing I would like to learn from you, and I may not remember asking you that, there is Dr. Kurien that you knew, sir, and you can answer that right away if you want to. Was he a person who was having fixed ideas which would never change, or would he change with changing times?
I will tell you one thing. He was a man of firm convictions, not fixed ideas. Firm convictions, and convictions based upon his experiences and his thinking. There is a difference between fixed ideas.
Correct, sir.
Trump is a man of fixed ideas. Sometimes,
Correct.
with no knowledge no experience.
Correct.
But he has fixed ideas.
Correct, sir.
Dr. Kurien was not, therefore I object to the word of fixed ideas.
Convictions.
Convictions, firm convictions.
Firm convictions.
Firm convictions. And if you talk to him, he would let you a full leeway about discussing.
Wow.
And when I will mention later that he could change his mind also.
With the changing times?
You had to have proper arguments.
Argument with it.
Factual arguments. Convincing arguments.
I have personally experienced this with him. I was a placement coordinator one particular year, I think it was 2003, 2002 and 3. And we wanted to have Dr. Nachiket Moore meet him. And I do remember vaguely that a lot of people around me was very scared to look at ICSI, how will this meeting ever take place? But then we just took a chance, and that meeting was a very good meeting. I was not part of that meeting at all, but then Dr. Nachiket Moore with his team must have come and met him. And after that, IRMA opened to ICSI initiatives, and a lot of things happened subsequently. So I was thinking that the person was changing times. As
You see, it is what I will say that is, to use the term that is very much in vogue, basic structure of the Constitution. His basic belief structure never changed.
It was same.
It remained the same till the very end. And what he added was because in areas that he was not there to outside of his basic belief structure.
Makes sense.
Where he was ready to accept different things. IRMA and its culture is one living example of that.
Well said.
IRMA does not belong to the NDDB culture.
Well said. Well said. Well said, sir.
And for that, a little footnote would be for yours truly. And I will explain that.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate this. Thank you very, very much. Just to end it up on a different note, we have had so far since 1978, in fact, 79 now, 79. Along with Dr. Shreekant Sambrani, Dr. K.R.S. Murthy became the director, Dr. Kamla Chaudhary, honorary director, Dr. Anand Haldipur, the director, Mr. P.S. Appu, the director, Dr. R.P. Aneja, honorary director, Dr. Tushar Shah, director, Dr. Kadar Singh, director. He was also director in charge for some time and then became director. And then Dr. Pratap Reddy as the director, Dr. L.K. Vaswani, acting director here, Ms. Nilima Khetan, director here, Dr. Vivek Bhandari, director here, followed by Dr. Rakesh Saxena, director in charge here, followed by Dr. Jimol Unni, director here, and Dr. R.C. Natarajan, director here, followed by Dr. Saxena, director in charge first and then acting director here. And finally, I have come to this office from December. And I'm honored, sir, that I'm meeting the first person who started the whole journey. And you're the last one. Not the culprit, sir, what do you call it? Torch bearer?
No,
torch bearer.
I don't know.
Yeah, and amongst the chairmen, we've had the most illustrious ones, Dr. Verghese Kurien from 14 December 79 to 8 of June 2006, and Dr. Y.K. Alak from November 2006 to November 2012, and Mr. Deep Joshi from November 2012 to November 15, and then we have Mr. Nand Kumar, November 15 to April 17, and then Dr. Tushar Shah as an interim chairman for some time between April 17 to July 17, and then Shri Vilen Raji from July 2018 onwards. Now this is what we have here, sir.
The 14th December date is important because that is the day we received a certificate from the Charities Commissioner.
Wow.
About the IRMA Society being recognized.
That's a birthday.
Certificate of inception.
That's a birthday.
That is the birthday. That is the formal birthday.
Formal birthday of the organization.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
IRMA Society.
Thank you so
not
much.
IRMA
Society.
Until then, IRMA was a kind of an adjunct in NDDB. Our pay salary came from NDDB and it got debited to various different things. And I and my colleagues were strictly speaking on the NDDB payroll.
Understandable, sir. We'll move there now. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.